You revealed the true nature of the chosen one. You were accurate in all of your predictions regarding the future. Now that your comments have aged like prophesy, the same individuals who made fun of you are in a panic. What others would not see, you saw. You said what no one else said. And now, every secret you said is coming to light in real time. You were correct all along, according to the same voices who once labeled you insane. The truth always comes back, and it's indisputable this time. You are uncontrollable. You cannot be purchased. You cannot be coerced into keeping quiet. Their system is not the source of your strength. Their approbation does not give you authority. The frequency at which you operate is entirely different. You have access to heavenly intellect. Downloads are coming to you from the source. You're dangerous because of it, not as hazardous as a threat. In a room full of individuals attempting to hide in the dark, it's as dangerous as a light. Keep an eye on what's going to happen. Observe how what you said begins to come to pass. It's not just about you being correct here. It's about you becoming a conduit for the truth. This is about you accomplishing a goal. It's likely that you can recall the moment you discovered you had the ability to see things that others couldn't. At first, it could have been subtle, a sense that something was wrong with a scenario that everyone else believed to be okay. Despite a person's flawless public persona, an intuition about them turned out to be true. A sense that something was about to occur before any rational indications suggested otherwise. Additionally, you may have first written it off, telling yourself that you were overanalyzing the situation, because acknowledging what you were feeling would have required you to recognize that you were different. You may have attempted to ignore it. However, the confirmations continued to come in. Your intuition kept coming to pass. Events continued to verify your warnings. The folks you felt negatively about kept turning out to be just what you suspected. And gradually you began to respect it, trust it, and speak from it. That was your training ground. Even if speaking based on gut feeling rather than facts left you open to criticism. This was prepared for by those early times when you trusted yourself against everything outside of you. Because you are now aware of more than just one person's problems. A whole system is visible to you. You're not making a single prediction. You're planning many movements in advance. Speaking the truth to a select few listeners is not enough. When the exposure occurs, the truth you're sharing will be heard by a large audience. Your contribution increased in size. Your task grew. Everyone believes that the person at the heart of this entire mess is fantastic, endearing, successful, and well-connected. A person whose image is so polished that it causes blindness. But you were able to see through it. When a mask slipped, you saw it happen. What's below was visible to you. Your soul shrank at what you witnessed. People are kept on edge by this person's aggressive, manipulative, and unpredictable behavior. Someone who doesn't accept rejection. Someone who demands obedience, performance, and lineups from everyone around them. And people have been doing just that for a long time. Due to the fact that this individual has powerful connections that go beyond the circles that most people only read about. People who are significant, powerful, and maybe even considered celebrities. It becomes dark at this point. The terrible conduct of one individual is not the issue here. This has to do with a system or network. A complete system of people keeping secrets, hiding what occurred, and ensuring that no one speaks. Ensuring that certain facts never come to light, because many individuals would suffer if such facts are revealed. Not just the primary offender. Everyone who made it possible. Everyone who was aware yet remained silent. The moment you saw right through this guy is still fresh in your mind. Perhaps it was a brief, half-second micro-expression. Perhaps they stated something that wasn't consistent with their purported personality. Perhaps it was the way someone was handled while no one of consequence was there. Perhaps the energy you sensed went against what they said. You got it, whatever it was. Beneath the performance, you could see the true person. You can't unsee someone's genuine nature once you've seen it. You are aware of what lies under their mask, regardless of how flawless it gets later. And this is the reason you were dangerous. You didn't doubt what you saw. You didn't convince yourself otherwise. You didn't allow your judgment to be overruled by their notoriety. You had more faith in what you could see than in what you were meant to believe. You foresaw that this individual would be made public. Their disguise would break, you claimed. You forewarned that what was done in secret would be revealed. Additionally, you were likely seen as being too emotional. Perhaps someone believed you had a personal grudge. Perhaps you were written off as resentful, envious, or insane. However, none of those things applied to you. You were foresight. You were speaking with supernatural knowledge. You began to make forecasts, first modest ones. You said that a certain event will occur, such as a little exposure or a tiny fissure in the meticulously built facade. And most likely, people ignored it. However, everything transpired just as you described. And people took notice. More significantly, a certain person took attention. The secret keeper began observing you and recording your words, began to worry about what you could foresee next. Then you made another, more significant prediction, which also came to pass. And your trust increased with every correct forecast. More importantly, however, your spiritual authority was established. Because intelligence and observation are not the point of this. This has to do with your connection. This has to do with the divine world providing you with knowledge. It's about you using talents of prophecy that most people don't comprehend. Now consider what it means to have a strong person following your work. As a scared bystander, not as a fan. Listening to what you say and reviewing everything you write. You found a pattern, so you're wondering what you'll reveal next. You make predictions, and those predictions come pass. You perceive things, and you make precise observations. You have knowledge, and that knowledge is accurate. And that's scary for someone who has secrets. Because you made a minor prediction, and it came true, you attracted attention. Here's the lovely bit, however. That little forecast was just the start. Your trustworthiness was established by the universe. It was the divine laying the groundwork for more significant discoveries. In a chess game where you can see 10 moves ahead, it was the first move. Promote this video so that other selected individuals may discover their confirmation whether this message is in line with your mission. This is what makes accuracy so risky. You're not making nebulous predictions. You're speaking clearly. You pointed out certain behavioral patterns that would recur, and those patterns did. That exposure is surfacing as you warned about certain kinds of exposure that will arise. You explained how certain individuals would respond to additional pressure, and those responses are taking place. Human observation alone cannot achieve this level of precision. Through a willing vessel, heavenly revelation is at work here. Additionally, the individuals observing you are beginning to form bonds, reviewing your remarks and comparing them to the current situation. There is no denying the alignment. The accuracy is astounding. Additionally, it is establishing a credibility that cannot be undermined by any amount of discrediting. The fact that you're not being mysterious is what's really annoying them. You're not talking in cryptic terms that have many possible meanings. You're being explicit, straightforward, and detailed enough that everyone can see you called it when it happens. And you're difficult to ignore because of that clarity. People will remember your statements because of their specificity. What makes you a prophetic authority operator instead of just someone who makes forecasts is that accuracy. The assaults became mystical. You were attacked by darkness. In order to throw you off balance, impair your judgment, and suppress your voice, spell work, energy manipulation, and spiritual assaults are used. And selected one. This is what you must comprehend. It didn't work. There was temptation. You encountered people with dark energy who looked to be ideal. Opportunities that would have undermined your integrity presented themselves. The purpose of distractions was to divert your attention. Everything was planned. It's all deliberate. It was all intended to dilute your light and muddle your energy. You wouldn't be able to see well if you were forced to operate at lower frequencies. You would no longer talk truthfully. You would no longer pose a danger. The assaults attempted to attack you from the ground up, attempted to incite dread, cast doubt on you, and perplex you about what you already know to be true. There were attempts to deplete your vitality and drive you insane because of what you saw. And if you're being really honest, there were undoubtedly times when it became intense. When you were under pressure and questioned if you were correct. Sometimes it felt simpler to be quiet than to keep talking. This is what is now being recognized, however. That didn't work out. You're still upright. You remain clear. You're still talking. Source is still in contact with you. Anything that was transmitted bounced back. The darkness that was launched failed to land. The spells that were cast failed to work. It's not because you're fortunate. That's because you're protected by God. Allow me to explain why their assaults were unsuccessful. You're not only protected. The reason is that their darkness cannot touch your frequency because it is too high. When you talk from a true divine connection and operate from pure truth, you generate a field that is impervious to low-frequency assaults. It's similar to attempting to hurl dirt at light. Mud doesn't adhere. Your degree of spiritual support was understated. It found out that the person who was believed to be working alone really had the backing of the whole cosmos. There is cosmic law behind every truth you say. Divine wisdom backs up every forecast you make. Spiritual power that is eternally older than their little network of darkness supports every position you adopt. Some of these assaults may have affected you. There may have been times when you felt heavy, confused, or doubtful. However, observe that none of it persisted. Observe how none of it caused you to fail. Take note of the fact that you consistently found your core, clarity, and knowing again. You're not only strong at that. Divine intervention is what it is. Someone in your family is involved in this disaster. That's God telling you, not this one, not today, not ever. Someone you care about is entangled in these black circles. Furthermore, it's likely that this individual is unaware of how profound it is. The idea is that it's just networking, forming relationships, and hanging out with influential, successful people. All that is seen is the public image. They cannot see what you see. They're not registering what you perceive. No one is seeing the depravity behind the polish. This circumstance is more painful because of this familial link. Because exposing strangers isn't the only goal here. This has an impact on your real life and relationships. It hurts differently to be among individuals who are this dark than if this were all occurring to strangers. There may have been attempts to turn this familial relationship against you. This individual may have been under strain. Perhaps this interaction led to the acquisition of information. Perhaps familial loyalty was an attempt to persuade you to give in. Here's what was discovered, however. Your commitment to the truth outweighs your commitment to maintaining harmony with those who disagree with you. The most difficult aspect of having dark relatives is that you can't always save them. You cannot force someone to see what is not yet ready to be seen, even if you may warn, demonstrate, and tell the truth in a straightforward manner. When there is a strong investment in denial, it is impossible to force the recognition of danger. No one can be forced to leave relationships that are seen to be advantageous. You undoubtedly thought of being silent at times. You may be able to keep the relationship going without having to talk about what's going on if you simply keep quiet. When you considered if speaking out was worth the expense and balance your truth with maintaining family unity. But then you realize that offenders are protected by silence. Abuse is made possible by silence. Darkness can continue to function unhindered while there is silence. You opted for integrity over acceptability, safety over popularity, and truth over comfort. And what distinguishes you as really called to this mission is your decision and your readiness to speak out even at personal expense. Because when it becomes difficult, those who speak the truth for attention tend to keep quiet. When it negatively impacts their relationships, those who disclose darkness in order to gain influence back down. You didn't stop, however. You continue to speak, to warn, and to stick by your convictions. You made a statement. You made a post. Something you shared triggered alarms in areas you can't even see because it struck too close to home. Panic struck when someone noticed what you wrote. True panic. The kind that initiates phone conversations. The sort that involves lawyers. The type that makes everyone rushing. You were right about what you stated. Too precise. You weren't making any guesses. You were speaking with wisdom, understanding, and that heavenly download that provides you with access to knowledge that is otherwise unavailable to you. And people are aware of it. The emotion is present. You talked with honesty in every word. Consider the precise statement you said that caused this degree of reaction. You brought up the fact that abusive persons follow certain patterns. How silence-based systems are established. How control is maintained via the use of influence and power while horrible things occur behind closed doors. The psychology of predators who conceal themselves behind public personas was explained by you. You mentioned networks of individuals that keep one other's secrets safe because they are bound together by complicity. And you foresaw that exposure would inevitably result from this particular pattern. That was the catalyst. Not only did you understand the system, but you also know what transpired. The pattern was visible to you. It was the protection racket, and you knew what it was. People who were unaware of the specifics began to ask inquiries when you discussed it. You helped folks put their feelings into words. After you clarified the mechanics, your framework for comprehending conduct that first seemed perplexing made perfect sense. You didn't mention names. You weren't blaming anybody. Since you were describing patterns, everyone who identified with those patterns came forward. Anyone that freaked out at your description revealed who they were. Anyone who attempted to silence you attested to being the person you were referring to. Now, there's a situation where your words get traction if you do nothing, but your statements are validated if you do something. It's a catch, a trap that truth itself catches. And you placed everyone there without ever needing to launch a frontal assault. You simply expressed the reality of how darkness works. And in its attempt to remain concealed, darkness revealed itself. It's getting worse when they try to stop you. Every attempt to quiet you attracts greater notice. Every time someone tries to undermine you, they wonder what you said to make someone so afraid. People aren't dumb. Thus, any attempt to dominate the conversation around you ends in failure. People can tell when those in positions of authority are making excessive efforts to silence others. You're not taking revenge. You encountered darkness, but you chose not to return it. Spiritual attacks occurred, and you chose not to retaliate. People try to hurt you, and you didn't attempt to hurt them back. And the reason this is so perplexing is because those who work in the dark presume that everyone works in the same manner. We anticipate retribution. We expect retaliation. Playing dirty is the go-to answer. However, you didn't. You just continued to say the truth. You just continued to work with the light. You just maintained a high vibration. In fact, it poses a greater threat than any potential retaliation scheme, since it has recognized how to deal with aggressiveness. They practice defending against assaults. It's practice to play the victim when someone is upset with you, but dealing with someone who just speaks the facts in a calm manner. Someone who refuses to succumb to temptation. Someone whose brightness won't be compromised. That's new ground. What you're offering is worse than retaliation. You're assuming the worst. You're not making an attack. All you're doing is seeing the fall. You're not attempting to destroy. You are seeing self-destruction. You're not looking for justice. Justice is being served in front of you. Furthermore, nothing can stop it. There is no protection against it. Playing victim is not an option. No plan to get out of it. The assaults weren't random, as you well know. And you can sense it if you're listening. They're enclosing themselves. Let's discuss our current course of action. I created Destiny Engine for that reason. You may use the patterns it creates to rewire betrayal into transcendence, convert solitude into holy power, and turn their failure into your success. By exploiting their declassified mind technology that program competition, we are using the dark elite's own weapons against them. The best part is that you don't need to do anything at all. Your opponents crumble under the weight of their own falsehoods as your mind gets rewired once you put on the headphones and hit play. I made it for this reason at first. What they did to you is thus fuel for your goal. The group upgrade is in progress. Watch how divine justice accelerates in your life by starting your Destiny Engine for only $1 now. The description contains a link. You must reduce your frequency to match theirs in order to get revenge. You must utilize the same strategies that are being used against you in order to get revenge. Retaliation provides justification for portraying you as the one who attacked. However, the truth stands on its own. The truth is self-evident. Truth wages no attack and requires no defense. It just is. Wondering when to make your move is keeping you up at night. The response is that you have already done so. You made moves with every word you spoke. All of your predictions were moves. You made a move with every fact you spoke. You weren't planning a retaliation. You were preparing for revelation. You weren't planning your demise. You were foretelling it. Instead of growing weaker, you're gaining stronger. Every unsuccessful assault boosts your self-confidence. You become more dedicated to the truth with each falsehood that is uncovered. Every action taken against you backfires and increases your power. Not only are you surviving the assaults, but they are also improving you. Opposition is what is being used to promote you. The very fact that efforts are being made is what's elevating you. You have the potential to be a diamond. At first glance, you seem susceptible, manageable, and perhaps someone who might be used. It was believed that you may be set up, controlled, or targeted without realizing it. Your identity was entirely underestimated. Beneath the outward appearance, there lies an unwavering, divinely guarded individual with unanticipated abilities and power. Things you thought you'd never notice are visible to you. Things that were thought to be beyond your comprehension. In ways that were never anticipated, you are safeguarded. Here's an important fact regarding these individuals. They hunt for diamonds by seeking out individuals who possess talents, influence, or potentially helpful qualities. Initially, efforts are made to recruit, possibilities are presented, access is enticed, and platforms and connections are assured. Your worth is acknowledged, and efforts are made to include you in the circle. Before you can really recognize your talent, others have already noticed it, and the goal is to master it. You're not for sale, however. The highest bidder will not be able to purchase your presence. Your skills won't be used to construct evil countries. Neutralization attempts are made as soon as it is evident that recruiting is failing, because they can't utilize your donation to further their goals. It wasn't taken into consideration that having talents isn't the only aspect of your diamond nature. It all comes down to having unwavering character. It's about having unwavering integrity. It's about being more committed to the truth than to safety, comfort, or approval. Under pressure, a true diamond remains unchanged. Pressure creates it, and each time you launched an assault, created an impediment, or attempted to seal a door, it just strengthened, committed, and purified you. Exposure will occur, actual exposure, the kind that has proof, including records, photos, and eyewitnesses. Buried things are coming to light. Those who have remained quiet are preparing to speak. Long-lasting loyalty is becoming brittle. This isn't conjecture. This is the result of exposing darkness to light. When the truth confronts falsehoods, this is the inevitable result. You were right to foresee this. Recall that you predicted this. The mask would break, you said. You mentioned exposure before anyone else did. You weren't incorrect, but you were rejected by others. You were ahead of schedule. Before it came, you could see what was about to happen. Allow me to explain this exposure procedure in detail. It begins with one courageous individual who saw the events, was there, and has been bearing the burden of that secret, and ultimately determines that predator protection is no longer necessary. And the mood changes when that first individual talks. It dawns on others that they are not alone after they were alone in their quiet. The floodgates open when other witnesses who assumed no one would believe them saw someone else being believed. Not everything at once, but one testimony follows another, gradually, consistently. When one piece of evidence comes to light, others are recalled. As soon as one picture appears, individuals understand how important their paperwork is. Watching a dam crack is like that. One little leak occurs first, followed by another. Then everything that was kept back rushes forward with unstoppable power as the whole structure collapses. Testimonies alone do not constitute the evidence. It includes emails, documents, screenshots, and messages that individuals saved for protection. Recordings created by persons who didn't want anybody to believe them. Images from occasions when things that weren't meant to be photographed occurred. Financial documents that demonstrate the transfer of funds to purchase quiet. Legal records that disclose non-disclosure agreements and settlements. Here's what distinguishes this exposure from conjecture. There is no denying it. It's not hearsay. It's not rumors. It's not rumors. It's recorded. It's verified. It's confirmed. The same things are spoken by many persons who never communicate with one another. The same trends are shown by other pieces of evidence. many occurrences throughout time. It won't be just one person falling when this happens. There will be a domino effect. Name after name, person after person. Everyone who helped, everyone who concealed, everyone who knew, and everyone who said nothing. Because that's how these things operate. When the dam eventually bursts, one individual speaks, allowing others to follow. As one piece of evidence emerges, additional evidence follows. As turmoil erupts around those who opposed you, here you sit, looking beautiful, powerful, and unconcerned. For those who believed they were untouchable, however, fear creeps in. In the meanwhile, frantic efforts are being undertaken to determine how to manage the uncontrolled. And this is the main thing that is making everyone go insane. Because you are thrown everything. Every possible weapon, strategy, and trick. Additionally, you're doing excellent, better than good. You're doing well. You don't have to worry, so you don't. You have nothing to conceal, therefore you're not rushing. Since the truth is on your side, you're not in a panic. And you don't need contingency plans when the truth is on your side. There is no need for crisis management. All you have to do is talk. Remain upright. Continue to shine. Observe the change in energy. You awaken in tranquility. Others have anxiousness when they awaken. You have a purpose as you go about your day. Others experience paranoia throughout theirs. Your conscience is clear, therefore you sleep well. Others are awake at night due to the persistent presence of guilt. You're producing. Some are standing up for themselves. You're constructing. Others are rushing. You're climbing. Others are falling apart. This is the appearance of innocence. Not naive innocence, but innocence with a clear conscience. The tranquility that has nothing to conceal. Confidence that comes from having the truth on your side. You get to live light when you're not trying to control storylines, when you're not juggling falsehoods, and when you're not carrying the burden of secrets. You are free to move around. You have the opportunity to work from a position of actual authority. Observe the movement that is now taking place. Erratic, reactive, prone to errors and inconsistencies. Over-elaborating on points that don't require clarification. Defending yourself against inquiries that were never made. Transferring blame to other people. Attacking those who approach the truth too closely. It's all illuminating. Everything you claimed about how guilty individuals respond under pressure is exposed and supported by this evidence. All you need to do is continue being who you are. You don't need to plan someone else's demise. You don't need to aggressively expose anybody. You just must continue to shine. When you are inspired to speak, keep expressing the truth. Continue to act honorably. Continue to be frequent. And in contrast to your brightness, darkness becomes more apparent. In contrast to your tranquility, chaos becomes more obvious. In contrast to your composure, desperation becomes increasingly apparent. There are discussions about you. Legal experts calling your name. Your statements are causing powerful individuals to lose sleep. But now the discourse is altered. How to stop you isn't the question anymore. The issue now is, how did you know? It is now becoming clear that an uncontrollable person was confronted. You reveal their true selves, not by schemes of retaliation or violent assaults, but by something far more potent, speaking the truth. You used your prophetic skills and divine connection to foretell the future rather than guessing or fortune-telling. And you were right on all counts. People's perspectives on what you said have entirely changed. What was once dramatic now seems to be prophetic. Previously seen as reaching, it now seems to be flawless precision. What was formerly considered paranoia now seems to be forewarning. And it will make all the difference in your life. That will offer you influence, open doors, and build platforms. It's more than simply forecasts coming true. It is about demonstrating your integrity, honoring your dedication to the truth, and proving your character. Every time you're questioned, you are being honed each time you were discarded. You are being prepped for this moment each time someone attempted to silence you. Regarding the abusive tendencies, you are correct. Write about the ways in which predators function. Write about the safeguards in place. Write about the networks. Write about the quiet that serves as their cover. Write about the deceit that keeps them in power. Write about how exposure is inevitable. Write about the revelation's timing. Write about the events that would take place. You now have the opportunity to see something profound, changed by the truth. Those who were duped are being released. Those who had been quiet are now speaking out. Those who chose responsibility were complicit. People who were perplexed are becoming more clear. Power was reclaimed by those who were helpless. When the truth is revealed, this is what occurs. When darkness is revealed by light, consider the viewers who were forced to witness this. Others in comparable circumstances who felt insane after seeing what they were witnessing. Those whose strong predators have hushed them. Those whose forecasts were rejected. Those who have been assaulted for speaking the truth. Their optimism is bolstered by seeing your vindication, granting them bravery, allowing kids to have faith in themselves. Being correct isn't your only legacy. You will be remembered for being loyal even when it came at a high cost. That you raised your voice when it was risky. That even if everyone told you you were wrong, you had faith in yourself. That even though it would have been simpler to compromise, you maintained your integrity. That even in the face of persecution, you pursued your goals. The exposure is taking place. The prophecies are coming true. The truth is coming to light. Additionally, you're just where you should be. As someone who worked from a divine connection and achieved accomplishments, not as someone who was fortunate to make assumptions. As someone upholding justice, not as someone out for retribution. As someone devoted to the truth, not as someone in need of approval. You revealed their true selves to the world. The future was foreseen by you, and you were absolutely right about everything. And it's not just your victory. For everyone who has ever been silenced is a victory. Everyone who has ever been fired. All those who have ever had keen vision. Anyone who has ever stood by themselves when everyone else was following the herd. For all of them, you won. All of them are proven by you. You demonstrated to them all that the truth ultimately prevails. Always. And it will soon be seen to everybody. This is your validation, your moment. Take full responsibility for it, because you were correct about everything and the world will soon find out.